Once time expired, I now recognize the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Thanedar, for 5 minutes of questions. Please remember to stick to the 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Garbarino and Ranking Member Thompson, for having this hearing today.
This exchange between Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and Congressman Thanedar was not just tense, it was devastating.
I know the American people have been demanding answers from this administration on their unlawful actions, so I hope we are able to get some useful answers from our witnesses today. Secretary Noem, this past May, I asked you during a congressional hearing if it was the policy of DHS to follow orders issued by federal courts. You said on the record, and I'm quoting here, "We are following all federal orders." End of my quote, end of your quote. Secretary Noem, you lied to me under oath that day. You lied to the American people, and you have betrayed the trust placed upon you in your role as Secretary of Homeland Security. You defied federal court orders when you refused to order the deportation flights to El Salvador in March to turn around. Federal courts have also found your department to have violated federal injunctions in your continue to send non-citizens on deportation flights, with some courts having called your orders unlawful. Secretary Noem, I just have 3 questions for you. 1, why did you lie under oath by saying DHS was following all federal court orders when they clearly were not?
Congressman.
Question 2, let me finish my questions. Question 2, why did you mislead the American people when you said that no American citizens have been arrested or detained by federal immigration agents? And my last question, number 3, Donald Trump said that your ICE agents haven't gone far enough. Do you think terrorizing American citizens and assaulting peaceful protesters isn't far enough?
Congressman, the Department of Homeland Security and this administration complies with all federal court orders. We always have and we always will.
Not true.
And we will continue to appeal. And, sir, I will even tell you that at the highest court, at the Supreme Court, the Department of Homeland Security in our litigation has an over 90% success rate in winning at the highest court in our battle against activist judges across this country.
Madam Secretary,
we will continue to appeal. And then when it gets to the highest court and we get a decision, it is proven that we are right, that we have been compliant. I will also say,
Madam Secretary, let me...
You want me to answer your questions or not?
I do, but let me... you haven't been telling us the truth. Look, there have been at least 170 known cases of citizens being arrested or detained by federal immigration agents this year alone. This is the truth. Are you lying to the American people right now by denying these reports?
When we are doing our targeted enforcement operations against criminal illegal aliens, individuals that are in that area may be detained until we verify who they are, and then they are released. This has been done for years, and every single law enforcement operation that has always happened, we follow the same protocols, and we continue to do that. We have never once detained or deported an American citizen. We have not held them and charged them. When we find out and verify their identity, then that is when they are released. You also asked about ICE agents going far enough. Sir, I will tell you that every single ICE agent, CBP agent, federal law enforcement officer that's out there doing their work every day, none of them will rest until our communities are safe. None of them will rest until terrorists,
Secretary Noem, it is a fact that you ignored federal orders.
And our children and our grandchildren can grow
up. Let me reclaim my time here, please. Let me reclaim. Secretary Noem, it is a fact that you ignored federal court orders in March and in May of this year. Do you plan on ignoring more federal orders?
I'm
sick of your lies. And the American people demand the truth.
Because you keep saying it doesn't make it true.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security, if you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
I yield back my time.
This wasn't some routine oversight hearing where everyone reads from prepared notes, dodges questions, and waits for the clock to run out. This was a moment where a cabinet secretary was confronted, directly to her face, with her own words, her own record, and the consequences of misleading the American people. And instead of answers, what we got was deflection, denial, and the same tired talking points we've heard over and over again. So let's break this down, because what happened here matters, especially if you care about the rule of law, accountability, and whether federal officials are actually bound by court orders or just pretend to be when it's convenient. When you really step back and look at this exchange, what makes it so unsettling isn't the raised voices or the sharp language. It's how normalized this behavior has become. A cabinet secretary sits before Congress, is confronted with her own sworn testimony, is shown evidence that federal courts found her department acted unlawfully, and she doesn't blink. There's no pause, no reconsideration, no acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, something went wrong. Instead, there's denial layered on top of denial, wrapped in patriotic rhetoric and applause lines about safety and strength. And that should worry people across the political spectrum. Because if court orders only matter when they align with your agenda, then they don't really matter at all. If judges are only legitimate when they rule in your favor, then the judiciary stops being a co-equal branch of government and becomes just another obstacle to bulldoze through. That's not strength. That's erosion. What Congressman Thanedar did here was strip away the abstractions. He didn't argue theory. He didn't debate ideology. He talked about actions. Planes that didn't turn around, injunctions that were ignored, citizens who were detained and then erased from the official narrative because acknowledging them would be inconvenient. And that's where this gets personal for a lot of people. Because you don't need to be undocumented to be affected by this mindset. You don't need to be an immigrant to feel the consequences of a government that's comfortable stretching the truth, redefining words, and dismissing legal limits as technicalities. When Secretary Noem says American citizens aren't detained, and then admits they are detained, just briefly, that's not clarification. That's spin. And spin doesn't change the lived experience of the person who was stopped, questioned, restrained, and told to prove they belong in their own country. Those moments linger. They change how people see authority. They change how safe people feel in their own neighborhoods. And instead of grappling with that reality, we're told to focus on activist judges, on Supreme Court win percentages, on abstract threats that justify everything and explain nothing. That's the move. Shift the conversation away from accountability and toward fear. But fear is not governance. And toughness is not the same thing as lawfulness. What made this exchange so striking is that Thanedar refused to play along. He didn't let the conversation drift. He didn't accept rehearsed answers. He kept pulling it back to the same point. Did you tell the truth? Did you follow the law? Will you do it again? And when those questions went unanswered, the silence said more than any speech could. Because leadership isn't proven by how confidently you defend yourself. It's proven by whether you can admit when you're wrong, correct course, and respect the boundaries of your power. That didn't happen here. Instead, we saw defiance framed as competence. We saw dismissal framed as confidence. And we saw a moment where resignation was treated as a joke, not a serious question of responsibility. And that's the danger, not just of this one official, but of a broader culture where accountability is seen as weakness and oversight is treated like an attack. Democracy doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes in moments like this, when facts are brushed aside, when institutions are undermined, and when the people entrusted with enforcing the law decide they're above being questioned. That's why this exchange matters. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was viral, but because it exposed a mindset that says power explains itself, truth is optional, and consequences are for other people. And whether you support this administration or oppose it, whether you're focused on immigration or not, that should give you pause. Because the question we're left with isn't about one hearing or one secretary. It's about what kind of government we're willing to accept and how much dishonesty we're willing to tolerate before demanding better. And sooner or later, that question stops being theoretical. As always, thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you next time.